All right, y'all, it's Judgment Day. We have Velvet's kit, and I'm seeing 2 pages. Now, don't be fooled, even though it is a lot of words, it does not always mean that the character is going to 110% be broken, right? That's what we've learned from even Label at this point, right? So let's take a look and see what she's doing. She is a supporter. I see she's burst 2. Let's see what she's looking like. Let's take a look at all of it. I hope her burst skill animation is family friendly. Like, please.
I guess I'm glad you're here, Master.
Okay. I think she looks so nice in her, like her just, oh, pink bottoms. Pink bottoms? Oh, I need to move my webcam. Let's go here. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna get demonetized off that. Is this a supporter? What? That look crazy. Okay, let's take a look. Wind, as we know, burst 2 supporter, not burst 1. Sniper rifle, and then again supporter, right? So all this whole page is just 1 skill. Okay, thank goodness my webcam covers that chest, because that's too big. Sticky Fingers is her skill 1. This is Judgment Day, y'all. Activates at the start of battle when entering burst stage 2. Okay, so that means whenever you enter burst stage 2, okay. Bullet Snatch function. Steals the enemy's bullets and keeps them in her ammo pouch. Her ammo pouch. Skill effects. Okay, effect 1. Affects all enemies, removes 5% of bullets. How does this work? Removes 5% of bullets from enemies. Effect 2, effect self. Fills ammo pouch with 6,000 rounds up to a maximum of 6,000. This is what I'm not understanding. Is that a PvP thing or like? I don't understand. It says affects all enemies. Remove 5% bullets. Like, okay. But when has enemies, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how am I supposed to know if that's doing anything grand to the enemy? Removing 5% of the enemy's bullets. How am I supposed to know if the Raptors are losing their bullets? It's not like they have ammo capacity beside them. I don't know how much bullets they have. For all I know, that the Raptors have infinite bullets, right? I don't know. Maybe it should have said like it just affects all enemies, like stops them attacking for a certain percent of seconds or something. I don't know. Anyways, activates when attacking with full charge while not in a full burst. Affects self function. Striking self by expending ammo from her ammo pouch. Effects 1, expends ammo from her ammo pouch, amount 100 rounds. Okay. Attack increases by 30% for 3 seconds. Okay. And then attack damage increased by 30.5% for 3 seconds. So I'm just gonna go back to her burst skill. This is when you're not in her when you're not in a full charge, right? Okay. So we're not in a full charge. You guys see it's going down. It's going down right here. You see how it's going down right there? 5500. Bop. You see how it's going down? 5700. 5600. 5500. So it's going down. And then every time it goes down by 100. So basically every full charge when you're not in a full burst, she's giving herself an attack buff and an attack damage buff of 30.5% for 3 seconds. Which is something, right? I mean, it's only when you're not in a full burst, right? So I don't know how grand that's going to be, especially since we're in a meta where everybody's like, the burst generation is insane, but we'll see. I just want to make sure I'm reading this completely correct, right? Because sometimes I read it and then something goes over my head. So affects all enemies, removes 5 bullets. All enemies, not allies. Okay. And then she can have a maximum of 6,000 rounds, right? And then when you're not in a full burst, she will lose it. It will go down by 100. and then while it goes down by 100, she'll give herself an attack buff. So she's gonna always have this up then, technically. Well, not really, because when you're in a full burst, it's no longer like 3 seconds. But when you're not in a full burst, like, because it takes 1 second to charge and like 1 second to like let it off, I guess, you would have this permanently while not in a full burst, basically, which is not bad. Okay. Skill 2, Bullet of Love. Activates when attacking with full charge during burst skill. Okay. Functions. Strengthens allies by expending ammo from ammo pouch. Okay. Effects of expends ammo from her ammo pouch 300 rounds. So now it will go down by 300. And then all allies will have their attack increased by 25.2% of the caster's attack continuously for 3 seconds. And then all allies will have their charge damage increased by 100%. Oh my, she is a wind buffer. Oh. Hello? The top wind DPS is all... Bro, both of them have charge. Both of them have charge. Both of them have charge. Both of these two, which are the top 2 strongest wind burst 3 DPSs, have charge. And she's on a 20-second cooldown. Oh, snap. Wind did not need that. Wind did not need that. And my whole thing is, this character is going to be phenomenal because what I'm seeing is that, oh yeah, the win team is complete now. I'm going to tell you guys the win team. The win team is complete now, 100%. I'll tell you guys the win team after. Okay, activates after landing 50 normal attacks during full burst. What? Oh, her weapon changes. Please, I was about to say, with a sniper who's hitting 50 and... Okay. Anyways, once she lands 50 normal attacks during a full burst, expends ammo from her ammo pouch to deal additional damage to the enemy. Expends ammo from ammo pouch around 300, like every 300 rounds that goes down, basically. Attack damage increased by attack damage increased by 15% for 5 seconds, and she will deal 400% of final attack as additional damage. Oh my god. Okay, wait. Effect self. Changes the weapon in use. Damage 7% of final attack. Right? Okay, that's something. That's if you use her burst skill, though. So you're not going to have this unless you use her burst skill, though. Because 50 normal attacks for a sniper is impossible in a full burst. It's impossible. 50 attacks for a sniper is physically impossible. It's physically impossible unless you use her burst skill where it changes the weapons, allowing her to get 50 normal attacks, right? But when you do that, her damage becomes 7% for 7 seconds, for 10 seconds, or for 7% of final attack. That's how much it deals. It lasts for 10 seconds, and she'll have her attack damage increased by 34%. What does her weapon become, though? That's what I need to see. What does her weapon become? That's ridiculous. That's too fast. That's a machine gun. That's like a machine gun. Or an AR? It's more like a machine gun or an AR. This character is actually good. Because my thing is, the team is Little Mermaid, Nayu to Liberate Scarlet Black Shadow, and then you have Velvet at the last character. And the reason why is because if you don't use her burst skill, you don't get the second part of her second skill, and you don't get her burst skill, of course, but everything else doesn't require you to use her burst skill. Nothing in her kit requires you to use her burst skill. All this stuff procs when you enter a full burst, right? So when you attack with a charge during a full burst, she's going to give all this right here to her allies, right? When you use her burst skill, or when you use a full charge during her burst skill, she gives us all to an ally, right? Which that's really big because it's an attack buff of 25% of the caster's attack for 3 seconds continuously, which I guess technically, like, sure, that's not as big, right? But the charge damage increased by 100% is big when you have Scarlet Black Shadow and Liber Alio as your burst 3 for wind characters. Now, the thing about that is that doesn't only work for wind characters. That works for all allies on your team. So essentially, if we're going to like go off of burst 3, anybody that is a sniper rifle or a rocket, I can't filter it by both, but anybody that's a sniper rifle gets buffed by this character, which Snow White happens to be one. Red Hood happens to be one. Vesty, who isn't a thing. Helm happens to be one. Alice happens to be one. Like, these are just, Milk happens to be one. These are just some of the stronger burst 3 snipers, right? If we go to rocket launcher, they're also charge damage. Ada Wong, A2, I guess, right? Diesel, Laplace, Raven gets a buff from that. Ice Maiden gets a buff from that. Scarlet Black Shadow, of course. Vesty Tactical Upgrade gets a buff from that. Like, these are the Cinderella. These are characters that get buffed from this because they have charge, right? So this character, Velvet's actually a very good character. She's actually a very good character for all these characters. But how this works, her skill 2 is basically you get to choose one of the two. Because I'm going to assume when you use her burst skill and it changes her weapon, she no longer has a charge. That's why it's like that. So basically, if you use her burst skill, she will get that second part of her burst skill, or she'll get the second part of her skill too, where you have to land 50 normal attacks. But she no longer will have that full charge buff towards her allies. So essentially, use her burst skill, I assume she's buffing herself. You don't use her burst skill, she's buffing up the main team, which I like. So you get to choose. If you want to use her as the main burst too, then you're using her as a DPS on your team. And that's really good because we get to see when I summon for her and get her and I test her out and all that stuff for you guys, we will be able to see, one, how strong this character is by herself as a burst 2, since she's buffing herself and she's changing her damage. Like, you guys got to realize, right? After 50 normal attacks, she's doing 400%. That's something. And she's giving herself quite the attack damage buff when you're using her burst skill, when you're not using her burst skill, all that stuff, right? So I feel like she could be pretty strong as a burst 2, which isn't bad. But if you're not using her as a burst 2, or if you're not using her as the main burst 2 and using her as like a flex burst 2, now we're talking about how she's buffing up every character in the game with that attack buff, and then all the snipers and rocket launcher characters who benefit from that charge damage in the game during a full burst, right? So that's really, 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 really good, right? This is the only thing from the first skill. I don't know how like well that is for the enemies, right? Because it's basically saying she's taking bullets from the enemies. I don't know how much bullets the enemies have. I don't know, right? I don't know, right? But as you guys see, it's going down by 100 or 5. Yeah, it's going down by 100 when you're not in a full burst. When you enter full burst, it starts at 6,000, right? You guys seen that right there? It went up to 6,000. When you use her burst skill, and then it goes down by 300 with every 50 shots. Now I need you guys to understand, 1 second had passed by there when she went down by 300. Look, 1 second is going down. It says, just mind you, it says after landing 50 normal attacks during a full burst, right? Once you land 50 attacks during a full burst, then it will go down by 300 and she'll get these attack damage buffs, attack buffs and stuff like that. I need you guys to understand how fast that's going down. Look, okay, look, we're at 5 point, I'll go back to the beginning of this full burst, right? Here's the first full burst. We're at 6,000, 10 seconds right here, right? 8.7, it went to 5.7, right? 705, right? Heck, even a bit higher. 7.12, it went down. So it's taking even less than a second for her to use, I guess, these quote unquote 50 shots. I'm going to assume, right? Because, like, she isn't like losing 300 ammo unless you land 50 normal attacks anywhere in her kit. You get what I'm saying? She isn't losing all that. Oh, right. She gives herself 6,000 when you enter burst stage 2, right? But my whole point is she physically isn't losing 300 unless you use 50 normal attacks. When you're using her burst skill, it changes her weapons. I don't know how much one of those shots, like how you see, because there's no way in 1 second 50 shots is going off. So this character might be actually nutty. I would say wait before y'all decide to sub it, but she's not a bad character. Velvet is definitely going to be a burst 2 that will be used. Really good for the wind characters. For Tetra, I think this is really, really good because if we're talking about like the Tetra buffers, Alice is a sniper. Obviously, you know, I wouldn't say Aid really benefits from this. I'm just gonna go to the burst 3 Tetras. Alice is gonna benefit from this. Brady's gonna benefit from this, and Milk is gonna benefit from this as well, right? That's realistically it. Right? That's realistically it. From those are like snipers. I don't know if any of these guys are rocket launchers. Tetra has no burst 3 rocket launchers. What? After 3 years, Tetra has no burst 3 like what? That's something. Okay, that's something. But yeah, I think this Velvet character is actually pretty cool. Yeah, she looks good and she plays good, right? She looks like she's good. If she's doing 400% basically every second while using her burst skill, now I have more hope for her. Now I have more hope for her. Because we're talking about a character who's using her burst skill, giving herself an attack damage buff, giving herself a additional attack damage buff, right? And then I don't think she gives herself any other buff while you're in a full burst, right? So this is like, because her skill one is only when you're off a full burst, right? But this is what she's giving herself, and a 50% attack damage buff when you use her burst skill, and a 34% attack damage buff when you're using her burst skill as well, right? So yeah, no, when you put her up with these other characters, like if I have her running with Helm, let's say I have her running with Helm, I have her running with freaking Little Mermaid. Let's say I put Crown on the team as well as the flex burst 2 and not the main burst 2, and then I have like another burst 3. I'm curious to see how strong this Velvet character is going to be. But she's definitely a very strong character, I feel like. So let me know what you guys think, because I think she's actually really good. We're gonna take a look and see when she comes out, right? But her burst skill is something. It's really fast. I was thinking, okay, well that like she's gonna be sorry, but her burst skill is really fast, and she's doing 400% final attack. Y'all, I'm really excited now. It's your boy Zxous. Let me know what you guys think. I'm happy. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.